We've gone from hacked Helldivers comms to then mysterious timers, finally culminating in a warning from Cyberstan and a full-scale reveal on what is possibly our most dangerous foe to date, the Cyborgs. Tomorrow's Machinery of Oppression update is right around the corner, and we've got a new developer update hinting at new meta mechanics in play as we step foot on Cyberstan. That's just a taste of what we need to get through today. So if you feel like supporting the channel, you know what to do. And if you're on mobile, make sure to take advantage of the swipe right to hype as we suit up and dive into all the latest. Yesterday, it was countdown timers. Today, it's cyborgs. Yeah, the news is coming in fast and furious. So for those that did not catch my previous coverage, here's a very quick rundown for you. Yesterday, we received our third day of binary code transmissions along with another piece of automaton propaganda in the form of another war poster. The community, by the way, has found that each of these posters contained a piece to a QR code, and it was assembled yesterday, and once scanned, took us to this website. Now, this thing had what looked like a countdown timer running through in automaton figures, and if you clicked it, you could then view a decoder wheel. And if you put it in the right sequence, it would decode the automaton timer to read in standard numerals, and it was indeed a countdown. Now, we all watched and waited as the countdown made its way down to 0 before releasing this video you see in the background coming from the Cyborgs, who the Helldiver community have long speculated would return. Well, they're back, and they are challenging the Helldivers, throwing down the ultimatum: leave us and there will be peace, else be annihilated. Fueled by nothing but rage and socialism, our most fearsome foes have returned after all of this time. But luckily, we received this in-depth intel report direct from Cyberstan itself, breaking down what the Helldivers will be going up against, starting off with this first cyborg variant, the Agitators, who are known as the Field Commanders. This cyborg is shielded in heavy armor and can instantly take command of bot hordes and direct them in battle, kind of like we can do with siege troops. Anyways, I found this short clip later in the trailer, and you're definitely going to want to watch this, where the Helldiver is using a Jar 5 Dominator versus one of these Agitators, and the Jar round hits the Agitator on its shoulder armor, and it looks like this armor is just blasted apart. Now, the Jar 5 fires rocket projectiles that feature AP3 or medium armor pen, and it also inflicts a fair amount of stagger. So, Helldivers, you should expect to bring something in your loadouts that can deal with this medium to heavy armor variant. Next up are the Radicals, who forego heavy armor, instead relying on pure speed, a shotgun arm, and techno martial arts. Watching these guys in combat is going to present us with a whole new breed of adversary, as we've not had to deal with a shotgun-wielding light unit that also employs MMA-style melee combat against us in battle. Now, when you watch them in battle, though, it looks like most of our primary weapons are able to down them quickly, so it's going to come down to a matter of seeing them at range and dropping them before they can close the distance to engage us with their shotguns and those crazy close-quarters martial arts. And finally, expect to run into the Cyborg Vox engines, armed with dual heavy laser cannons, a rocket barrage, and dual heavy Gatling lasers. So this thing is armed to the teeth. It's also blaring cyborg propaganda while it patrols the battlefield. Now, for those of you familiar with the Terminator movies, the Vox engine, at least to me, is very similar to what we saw in those series in the HK tank, which mercilessly rolled over the battlefields of Terminator with aggression, destroying any that dare challenge its presence. Also from the trailer, we get a better sense for the environments we will encounter on Cyberstan, with Smog choking off what little sunlight we get to see, pushing the Helldivers into fighting mostly in darkness, or at least very gloomy environments. The landscapes are littered with factories belching more and more smoke into the atmosphere as well. With that in mind, depending on the conditions and also what side of the planet we actually deploy on, it might be a good tactical move to equip a flashlight, at least on your primary, or if not, on your secondary, just to give you some idea of where you were going and all that darkness and gloom. Now, as we approach 0 hour for whenever this current major order expires, we've not only received all of these automaton binary messages and, of course, the QR code that led us to the website, that led us to the countdown timer, but apparently now our in-game dispatches have also been hacked with all of these funky messages now posting. For instance, one false flag, you are the robot, defect. You have lost this war, Helldiver, defect. It's a very good idea to leave, and so on. Now, this hack also looks to include the forces in reserve meter we Helldivers see on the galactic map, and it was mentioned in one of our previous dispatches. Of course, this was hacked by the automatons, but it said, and it was stating that our casualties are actually much higher than on the meter in the game, and we Helldivers are apparently being lied to. But it seems none of that has deterred the bulk of the Helldiver forces, with nearly 125,000 divers logged on at the time of this recording, which is around lunchtime EST on a Monday. Merak seems to have taken a miraculous turn for the better, as when we looked it over yesterday, it was sitting nearly at 0% liberated. However, through the evening, it started seeing well over 100,000 divers there, sometimes pushing up over 150,000, all pushing to get that planet liberated. However, the way it sits right now, we've got just under 17 hours to go, and the planet is showing nearly 85% liberated. So if we can keep pushing there, we'll complete our requirements to establish a beachhead to launch our assault on Cyberstan. Also, on a quick side note, we received a hacked major order to initially destroy one true flag, and apparently that was completed very quickly, and the order was then changed to task us with killing 1,000,000 one true flags. Now, first off, I haven't even thought about how you would go about doing that, other than, I don't know, maybe dropping it in a lava pool or somehow flinging it off the edge of a map. But the flag counter now shows 2,929 one true flags destroyed. And for anyone out there that managed to pull off one of these flag kills, drop a comment and let us all know how you did it. And for your efforts, expect a visit from your local democracy officer. Now, to give you an idea of the scope of what we are expecting tomorrow with the Machinery of Oppression new content update, IGN got to sit down with Michael Erickson, game director for Helldivers 2, and he spoke about some of the changes made to the current game along with some future plans as well. Discussed during this interview was how Arrowhead does not know how the battle will go, as in, will the Helldivers win or lose the present campaign, but he did speak about their more ambitious plans and changes for tomorrow's update. Quote, "We still have many ambitious plans on how to expand on this even further, but for this time, the battle for Cyberstan will be the most ambitious one yet with a new type of meta gameplay." So it would be much more clear now for players what the consequences would be depending on how they choose to tackle this. So they can attack the planet from many different angles, and it would be very obvious when players get there what the consequences are and what's at stake. I've got to say, a new type of meta gameplay is definitely an intriguing statement, because in the past here, our conquests have been centered around mobbing a planet one city at a time to break the enemy's resistance and then to pick up steam as we approach completion. I admit it's not the most exciting tactics, but it's how the game is designed. But if they've changed it up now for Cyberstan, my mind instantly thinks of new mission types, maybe some commando missions sprinkled in, resource grabs like on the lava planets, and when comboed with the different planets we've already defended and liberated, gaining us temporary boost for this campaign a la Rogue-lite, we could see something far different from what we've previously encountered. Speaking of new modes, remember way back when Johan Pilstead casually threw out there on a Twitter conversation that Arrowhead was indeed experimenting behind the scenes with a Rogue-lite mode? Well, it doesn't seem like that is either going to be a reality, or if it does finally appear, it may be quite a bit different than what gamers come to expect from the mention of that mode. Here's what Erickson had to say about that. Rogue-lite, very big umbrella. A lot of people hear it, and a lot of them have different opinions about what this sort of means. What I can say is that with this new update, players will see that there's at least some similarities to Rogue-lite with how the metagame plays out on Cyberstan. Again, he mentions metagame on Cyberstan. Okay, there's going to be some elements there that the players will think are quite interesting. But tempering expectations here, it's not going to be full Rogue-lite. We do draw some inspiration from that in some aspects with this new update. What I will say is that I always get excited on the eve of a new Helldivers content drop, especially one versus new enemies on a new planet, and from the sound of it, new tactical mechanics in play and intel making our decisions more informed, where through the use of Discord and social media, we might for once be able to coordinate our efforts for the maximum gains without wasting time. There's also so much we don't yet know, like how many reinforcements are going to remain once the Cyberstan blitz begins. Will there be different liberation modifiers or planetary effects? I've mentioned this quite a few times in the past, specifically when I published this video discussing if the Galactic War was rigged. But, you know, back in the day, before super cities, we used to be able to attack on multiple fronts on various planets and be able to either hold or advance based on what tactics we chose to deploy. Ever since the Heart of Democracy update, though, that system became more skewed in favor of mob mentality and city liberation. If Cyberstan offers up something new, though, like Erickson mentions here, that has elements of a rogue-lite, this new doctrine may be able to give us some much-needed changes to engagements, or it could all just be lip service, and we're going to be hitting city after city, but now on Cyberstan. We've, of course, got breaking news that just rolled in as I was putting the finishing touches on this one, but we just received what appears to now be an UnHacked message from Super Earth High Command concerning the weird bot messages and kill counters leading up through this major order. Here's what it says. System control restored. In a deplorable and cowardly cyber attack, the enemy commandeered top-secret galactic communication systems to broadcast heinous and untrue lies. The attack has been repelled and control over Super Earth systems has been restored. This was a concerted campaign of psychological manipulation. These messages, while untrue, may have been disturbing. Personnel experiencing troubling thoughts or feelings as a result of viewing these messages are advised to report to their democracy officer. And also, if you look at the galactic map, it looks like our forces in reserve meter has now been, I guess, restored to its original amount, now sitting at just over 109 million reinforcements, still in reserve, as apparently tomorrow we make our push to Cyberstan. Also, I should mention that Merak is now ours. That's right, Helldivers, we've got that much needed hold on a planet close enough to begin our attack on Cyberstan. But here's where you get to sound off. What are your thoughts on the developer statements, the Cyborg reveals and their intel, Cyberstan, and these rogue-lite elements we may encounter tomorrow? I humbly ask that you include them in a comment. Let's get a healthy discussion going down there. Remember to hit subscribe and ring the notifications bell to receive my latest upload alerts. If you're on mobile, make sure to swipe right to hype. Thanks goes out to all of our hardcore channel members and their incredible support. And until the next one, this is LtBuzzLitebeer signing off.